everyone, and welcome to the first installment of a new YouTube series I like to call Crafting with Cora. It's going to be uploaded to YouTube every quarter, so 4 times per year. These are adult crafting videos to teach you DIY skills to make new creative projects. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a do-it-yourself stained glass window using paints. The materials you'll need before starting out include 1 pane of glass. I got this at the thrift store for $1.50 and it came with a very cute cat painting inside of it. You'll need a ruler, some painter's tape to mark off where you're painting, and some Gallery Glass brand paints. You can get a 6-pack from Amazon, Michaels, Hobby Lobby for about 12 bucks, pretty cheap. And optionally, you'll need a Sharpie to draw out your design on the window. I am going to use the Sharpie to draw out my design, and I'll catch back up with you guys once it is sketched out. Alright, I'm back after sketching out my design on my window pane. I'm going to be making a rose, if you can see that. Once you have your design sketched out, then you can begin taping it off. I'm gonna start with the outside edges because they have the straightest lines. So you can take your painter's tape, line it up straight with your line that you already drew, tape it down, and from there, you can begin painting that section. I'm going to do that off screen because I need to do a bit more taping and it'll take me a little bit of time, but you can tape with me and meet me back here in a few minutes. I'm back again. I've finished taping off all of my edges, which are the first sections that I'm going to paint. Before you start painting, well, before I start painting anyways, I'm going to mix a few different colors together just because I have limited colors in my 6-pack set and I want more of a lighter green than this. So I'm going to mix it in my paint tray and use a spoon to apply it to the glass rather than just using the tip of the paint applicator. I have to grab a scissors to open these, but I will be right back. I've removed all of the plastic from my paint bottles and will begin mixing my colors together. I want just a slightly lighter green than this, so I'll mix mostly green with a little bit of yellow. Still another top on them I gotta remove. I've got the perfect light green that I want, so I'll begin glopping it on kind of thick because once this specific gallery paint dries, it'll become transparent and look like stained glass, but really it's just paint. You can apply it kind of messily, just try and get like an even coat over the area that you'd like. I'm gonna do the rest of the painting of the edges off camera just because it'll take a little while And I'm just doing the same things, glopping it on a little bit thick. I'll bring the camera in close here so you can see what it... Alright, I hope you can see this just a little bit better. You're gonna glob the paint up onto the section that you want it in. Don't worry about getting it on the tape because that's gonna make a straight line on the edge that you drew earlier. Just try and make sure you get your paint on there really thick. Alright, I'm back again and I finished painting all of my edges, and I've removed the tape when the paint is still wet, because if you wait until the paint is dry, you can tend to take the paint up with the tape as you start ripping it off. From here, I'm gonna start taping off my other sections, being careful to not touch the wet paint in the edges that I just did. If you'd like, you can wait until they're dry before you start taping off your next sections, but it may take just a bit longer. I'm gonna do my taping off camera again and meet you back here because it'll take a little bit of time, but I'll show you my progress as I finish taping. Alright, I'm back again. I finished my second taping. I'm going to do some of the triangles that are right next to the edge that I just did, but I did not tape over the paint that I already put on there, because if you tape over it, the paint will peel off when you take the tape off. So I'm going to use the edge of some cardstock paper or my ruler, because I already have it here, to mark off that edge that I don't want paint to get over. I'm gonna mix some blue and white because I want my background to be a lighter blue than this blue that it came with. I'll take my second spoon and mix that all around until I get the color I like. And then once you have the color of paint that you like, you can start globbing that on to the next section. Again, you can paint over your tape that you put down, just as long as you remember to peel it up when your paint is still wet. I'll give you a better angle once again so you can see what I'm working on. Just globbing that on there just like you did with the outside. Making sure you keep your paint really thick. It will dry a bit transparent. You can see the edges that are already drying. All right, I'm gonna do the other 3 sections that I've taped off camera and meet you back here once again for the next round of taping. I've finished painting all of my sections that I had taped off, so I'll begin removing my tape. Sometimes it's not perfect, but it's all right. All right, then from there, I'll begin my next round of taping. I'm going to do the sections that are right next to the wet parts again, just move from outward to the inside. I finished taping off my next section and mixed the paints for the next triangles I'm going to do. I'd like this section to be a little bit darker blue, so I mixed blue with a little bit of black to make a navy color, and I'll continue globbing that on, avoiding the areas I've already painted. Alright, I have that section done. I'll show you how it looks so far. Like this. And I'll continue painting the rest of the sections I have taped off for this tape session off camera and meet you back here once again to tape the next triangles. I'm back after painting all of my sections. This is what I'm working with so far. You can kind of see the areas that are drying. They become see-through as it dries. I'm gonna peel up this tape as it's still wet. Don't worry about some bleeding paint over the black lines. At the end, we're gonna put more black lines to make it look a little bit fancier and less messy. Just gonna peel all this up, and then the next sections I'm going to do are these triangles here. I'm going to tape them off camera. I'm back again after having taped off the next sections, and I'm going to start mixing my paints again. I'd like to do a light blue so I don't have two dark blues right next to each other. Okay, this is how it's looking now with all of those sections painted. I went ahead and did these upper sections as well because I had some leftover paint. I made sure to do a lighter blue next to dark blue and mix some other shades of blue in here just so I don't have the same color right next to each other. I'm gonna go ahead and tape off these triangles. The ones with the straighter lines will be the easiest, and I'll do that as a time lapse and keep these curved parts open so I can do them together on camera with you. Alright, I finished my background and gotten all my blues how I want them through taping and painting. Now for the last part, these bits are going to be a little bit harder because you can see they have curved edges, so you can't really tape them off. That's why I left the inside for last, because the paint creates a little ridge around the outside, so when you put the paint in the center, it shouldn't bleed into your other sections that you've already done because the paint is just slightly thicker than the areas with no paint on them. So I'm gonna go ahead and paint these sections green and these sections red in different shades so that I don't have the same shade of red touching in the red areas, and I don't have the same shade of green touching in the green areas. I'm gonna do that on time lapse and then meet you back here to reveal my finished product. Okay, once you're done painting the entire thing, you can go back in and re-add your thicker black lines over the whole thing to look like the leading on real stained glass windows. My gallery glass paints came with a black lead paint, so I'm gonna use that for the lines. It may spread a bit. You can also get lead tape strips from Michael's or Hobby Lobby. It just might be a little bit more expensive, but it'll look fancier in your finished product. I'm gonna do this on time lapse once again, just so it goes a little bit quicker, and then I'll show you the finished product once I'm completely done. Okay, I've got all of my leading on there and it's all completely dry. So this is my finished product, the back side of it, as well as the front. Both sides should look the same if you're using clear glass. I'm gonna go ahead and slip it into my frame and hold it up a bit closer so you can see. You can see some of the parts that I could have done a second coat on because you can see some of the brush strokes. I did have leftover paint as well. I could have done a second coat. The leading was definitely the hardest part because you want that to be completely straight like real stained glass, except I was using paint over the top of other paint, so I couldn't get a completely straight line and it was bleeding a little bit. You could try it with doing the lead paint before any of the other colored paint, just over the top of your Sharpie, because it'll create a barrier for your other colored paint to go in as soon as the lead paint dries. But you have to be sure that it is completely dry before you do any of the other colored painting. So yeah, this is the finished product. If you guys followed along with me, comment down below and tell me how it went for you. This is just a beginner thing. It's my first time trying it as well, and I've learned along the way. And thank you for joining me.